I had the experience recently of doing something that was more serious on this project, and it hasn't come out yet, but I was very self-conscious about it at first because it's very different. You know, if your whole life is listening for the laughs, and then you've got to inhabit this other space where you've got to just actually sense if it's working or if it's not working and it's gelling. And I'm wondering, when you first were switching over, did you feel, when you were doing dramatic parts, did it feel at all alien to you, or was it just like a duck in water?
When I first started, yes, it felt foreign to me because it was a muscle that I didn't get to exercise in my craft. You know what I mean? I could take a multicam script and read it in the car at the stoplight and get to work and already have 3 choices. You know, leave them wanting more. You know what I mean? I'm going to do this in front of the live audience. I'm going to do that for this, and I'm going to give them another, you know what I mean? Because it was such in my DNA. But the other part, I never forget, honey, let's get back to mamas. My mama told me, she said, now, you know what? You real funny. And you got that natural. You got that. But on that drama side, you need some work. You don't do that too good. So here's what mama's going to do.
Wow, she said that to you.
She said,
wow.
I'm going to work overtime, okay, to get the money. You find the best class in town, and I'm going to pay for it. Because if you're going to do it, you do it right. What my mother said.
That's incredible.
So that's when I went somewhere and tried to figure it out. And I was so lucky that I found then a class where you used to bring a VHS. Children, that's a videotape. There were these machines. But you you could take
and
it home.
In the old days, they were a big brick.
That's what I had, the old days.
Just the big 1/4 inch. I mean, it was or 3/4 inch, I think. It was like a piece of concrete. That was your tape.
Slide it right on up in there, and I would go back home and just watch it and see what I could do different and try to watch it. But now you can also, because you know what we look for. We're looking for the reaction to make sure we did the bit. But you see it in the face of the crew. You see it. When you do a scene and you know if it's popping or not, when the crew is like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Or they choke up. You know what I mean? They walk off,
When they stop eating for a second, the fried bread, you know you got them.
That's it. That's it.
When they drift away from the craft food service table, you know you got them.
That part.
Yeah, I always used to try and, I mean, this always relates more to comedy, but when I was working on anything, I knew that if it was at a venue where there's like wait staff or anybody, if they're hanging out watching and they seem to be chuckling, that meant more to me than anything. I felt like, okay, these are people that they're not here to laugh. They don't have to laugh. They don't even have to listen. But it's a very different vibe. But,
Indeed.
But yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that with the crew. Like, they're people and they will pick up. And they see a lot. They see people come and go.
Oh yeah.
And you can see if you've got them, that really means something.
It means something.
I'm just curious, what kind of acting classes did you take? Was there a certain method that you were learning, or?
I don't even remember the teacher or anything. I just remember taking a class where you had to bring your videotape in every week. And then, they would tape you. Yeah. And then, watch it back and critique you and tell you all of the things. And then I just kept trying and trying and trying. And I really just felt like I wanted to get it right. And where it turned a corner for me was this series that I did on HBO called Getting On.
Yeah.
That was where it turned a corner, because even though it was a comedy, I guess, a workplace comedy.
It's so interesting because I love the show. But it's so funny because we're in this new world now where I think it's harder and harder to label things a comedy or a drama, because Getting On could be really funny, but also very touching and then just heartbreaking.
So I don't know what you would call it, but but it was playing, I was always so broad. All of my bits, all of my stuff that I had done before that were always so broad. And this was so small. So panissimo. So to me, it very much felt like if you play the scene for real, it's a drama. For me, you play it for real. You don't play it for the joke. and you say it with as much of a straight face. You're not waiting for the bump. You just, the lines are just rolling into the next one. And I was like, oh boy, this is, whew. And I remember the producer coming in. He says, hey, listen, I know you've never done anything like this before, but if you play your cards right, you, lady, will be on the E-list. And I thought, my God, Kathy Griffin is on the D-list. What's lower than that? What? Do I want to be on the E-list?
You'll someday maybe get up to Kathy Griffin's level.
Weird thing for someone to say.
The E-list, but then he kept talking, and I was sitting there just about to cry. And I was like, he doesn't think that much of me. And he said, because when you get nominated for that Emmy, I said, E-list.
Wow.
Yes, I got it. Yeah, I got it now. I was like,
okay.
Yeah, but that was after I died inside. And he was right, and I got the nomination, so he was right.
You know what's cool too about that show is it put a spotlight on. Our culture just so avoids older people and so avoids, and to a point where if you look at ads and you drive around, you just look at magazines and everything, you'd think that old people didn't even exist. And it's for a show to actually make the whole focus about
the elderly.
I and that
loved
stage,
it so much.
that stage of life. But then also, I think that's why the humor was such a relief on the show. You could create that tension, and then things were that much funnier to me because you're dealing with such a third rail topic.
One of the ladies in the show that I was in a scene with, and they kept trying to yell and tell her she was talking too loud. And he said, "What?" And tell her she's talking too loud. And I said, well, he just wants me to let you know you're talking, too loud. You could talk a little softer. Oh, that comes from my years in vaudeville, dear. I was like, okay. I said, all right.
That's awesome.
So at lunchtime, we talked about vaudeville. Tell me everything.
I killed it in 1911.